Welcome back to Fat Audio Concepts. In this episode we're going to be covering cross bonding, where we glue fiberglass to metal and make it stick so it won't separate. We've also got a couple of different cars inside the shop, so we'll be having a look around. Let's have a look inside. Here we have an R34 Skyline. It's the GTT model. We're fitting a front mount intercooler to it. Okay, next up we have a Suzuki Baleno. What we've done is we've fitted the sub in the back and we're shooting it backwards to do what we call rear loading. Okay, what we've done at the front here, we've mounted the tweeter on the A-sail, and the way we mount our speakers, we make sure they're fully sealed. They're not just mounted on back straps, they're mounted nice and solid, because the more solid you can make the speaker mount, then the more bass you're going to get out of the front of the car. Here we have Quick Rex in its second stage of build. We've now got the front bonnet scoop in high fill, which is like a spray putty to get rid of any little pinholes, because fiberglass is renowned for pinholes. When we sand that down, we'll be able to see if there's any highs or lows, and we'll make this thing look pretty as. As we can see here at the back of the scoop, the line now looks like it follows the bonnet line instead of having a gap that was a bit like a wave, if you will. It's starting to blend in nice and beautiful. By the time that's got paint on it, it's going to almost look like Subaru put this bonnet scoop on the car, and that's the kind of effect that we're after. At the back of the car here, we've now got the spoiler at its stage just before it's ready for high fill. It's all been bogged up, all the fiberglass is all nice and smooth now. All the lines are starting to look like they belong there. The eye level stoplight's going to tuck in there nice and beautiful. This thing's all ready to be bolted down once it's all high filled. Make sure all the lines are right 100%. Make sure there's no pinholes, and then she's ready to paint. Okay, next up we have Marco's Commodore. We showed you this last week and it's sanded backstage ready for paint. It was meant to go matte black, but he's got a bit scared because it was a bit too different. So he's decided to go back to the original colour. But the way Vito paints, this thing looks better than any original colour. Licking my lips saying, "Shawty, swing it my way." Damn, ma. How the hell you get all of that in them pants, ma? I hope you ain't up in here with your man. What cracks? Does that work? Are you allowed to say that on TV? What we have here is a sculpture of some kind, because as I said, we do everything. And even artists love the way Vito paints. He's literally a god with a paint gun. We're basically putting a bit of spot putty because, like all moulds, it's got pinholes everywhere. The spot putty is really fine and allows you to fill up those pinholes without getting more pinholes from just the bog alone. But be careful not to add too much hard melt, or you can end up with a massive crack. I said crack. Okay, this is the Cadillac we were showing you on the last episode. We're now at the paint stripping stage. Once the paint strip is painted on, with a car this old, sometimes you've got to paint strip it 2 or 3 times. And we just have a drop street, we scrape all the paint off, and then re-paint strip it again and scrape it again until you get most of it off. Then we get an orbital sander, we'll sand this thing down. We do it in front of our dust extracting booth because we want to make sure that dust doesn't go everywhere. And yeah, we'll show you what the front guard looks like, because we've just finished doing the front guard. And if you look carefully behind me, you can see Joe working. Okay, you can see the front guard now has all been paint stripped, sanded back, and even though you look at the front door and it doesn't look as bad, by the time you get the paint off, you can start seeing a lot of surface rust. There's a lot of rust down the bottom here, so we've actually cut the whole section of rust out. We're going to weld in a patch there and then grind it all down, try and metal finish it as much as we can before we start filling it with just a tiny bit of body filler just to straighten it all up and make it look nice and neat. Okay, in this episode we're going to cover what we call cross bonding, where you try and glue fiberglass to metal. Back in the days, a lot of people used to use urethane or any kinds of celastic or whatever they were using. A lot of the times they would separate, and if you just use glass to metal on its own, it doesn't bond properly. There are quite a few good products out there now that are proper cross bonding materials. Basically what we'll be doing is, as you can see, the scoop's got a bit of metal bars supporting it, or sorry, has a few metal bars strapping it into place. When this scoop came out of its mould, it was taken out a bit too early. The sides of it flared up. We're trying to flare it back down again. So when it sits on the bonnet, it's going to sit nice and flush. With the cross bonding that we're going to be using, we have to just grind a 2-inch bare metal strip across the bonnet, grind the underneath of the scoop, put down this cross bonding adhesive, and literally just sit the bonnet scoop in place. By the time this stuff dries, you'd be breaking the fiberglass before you actually break the bond. It is really, really good. And the same technique can be used for wide body kits if you're doing rear quarter panels with a wide wheel, the really wide wheel arches. Exact same technique, and we'll show you this later on how it's actually done. Okay, it is a monster scoop, but it actually suits a monster of a vehicle. It's a HK original GDS Monaro as well. Gentleman's managed to source a second-hand bonnet. The bonnet alone is worth its weight in gold, and he's cut a hole almost the size of the scoop. A lot of people would cringe, but this guy's got the balls to modify an original GDS. When you see this thing, your jaw will hit the ground. It is absolutely gorgeous. And if we walk over here, we'll see the bonnet, and you'll see how large of a hole it has. So what he's trying to do is get as much air out of the or the heat out from under the bonnet as he can. And also with that scoop, it sucks air from the front windscreen, so you get a lot better airflow into your carby as well, because this thing's still carbureted back in the days. And yeah, what we'll be doing is just grinding a 2-inch patch of paint off here. You can see where the locator holes are. We'll be just grinding all that out, so it's just bare metal in that area. We'll put down our cross bond, we'll sit the scoop on there, let it dry for 4 hours, and it'll be as if it was one piece with the bonnet. See my homie Snoop, we doing what we do, don't matter where we at. I can just emphasise, we didn't cut this hole. Basically, the cutters that we use are really straight. The gentleman wants us to clean the lines up because he just did a rough template himself, very similar to this XY bonnet I'll show you in a sec. This is for that drag car we were showing you last week. He wants to put an original GT shaker on there. Unfortunately, whoever cut the hole previous to him has put it in the wrong spot. So our job is to try and graft basically add metal where it's missing and take metal where there's too much of it, and put the bonnet scoop back where it was meant to be. This side of the bonnet has been sanded down, this side of the bonnet's just been paint stripped, so you can sort of see the difference. When a bonnet or any panel is in bare metal, try not to touch it, because the moisture in your skin will leave actual rust stains on the surface rust, sorry. It will leave surface rust on the panel, and yeah, if someone doesn't pick that up before they paint over it, it can create a bit of grief later on down the track. So if you're ever in a panel shop or in any kind of workshop and you see bare metal, don't touch it with your hands unless it's been treated with fish oil or it's covered in some sort of oil just to protect itself. Okay, Nolan from Hampton asked us about the Maserati that we're building. He's inquiring about doing one himself. Wanted to know if he could try and just grab a body shell for about the 15 grand mark. If you're going to do something like that, it's something where you'd want to jump on eBay, or just check around all the wrecking yards, see if there's one that's got where someone's decided to strip it for parts, because Maseratis aren't the kind of thing that you always come across in bare shell stage. The one that we're doing was a completed vehicle, and that's why we've had to strip it down and change colour, so just to find a shell on its own could be a bit tricky, but if you stick with it and you're not in a hurry, something's bound to show up. So yeah, just keep looking around, especially South Australia and New South Wales. If you check around in those areas, you're bound to find something. So good luck, and if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, next week's episode, we'll be looking at a Honda CR-V and how to install a humongous system into one of those. We'll also be following Quick WRX. We'll see how the progress is coming along. Hopefully she'll be all painted up and ready for assembly, or it might even be assembled. So we'll just see how we go. And that brings us to the end of this episode, so hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, or there's something that you saw that you liked and you just want to know a bit more about it, please feel free to drop us a line, or send us an email, and we'll try and cover it on one of our episodes. So yeah, hope to hear from you. In today's episode, we're going to be covering cross bonding, where we join fiberglass to metal. That was absolutely disgusting. I got all stuck. In this episode, we're going to be... Sorry. Damn it, man! Making love to the work, making love to the work. I am the work. Okay. At the back of the car here. Okay, straight face. Welcome back.